Welcome to Silent Truths, a quiet corner of the world where stories drift like snow, and sleep arrives softly and slowly through each whispered word. If our stories bring you comfort, support this peaceful space by subscribing, leaving a like, and sharing it with someone who might need rest tonight. Your kindness helps us keep the silence warm and welcoming. And before the story begins, we'd love to know, where in the world are you listening from? And what time is it right now? Leave a comment below. Let's fall asleep together, across borders and time zones, connected by stillness and story. Now, let the day dissolve, and let us carry you gently into the night. Gently, imagine yourself waking up, not in the world you know, but in one that moves to a rhythm long forgotten, a world without engines, without electricity, without alarms or clocks, a world where time is measured by the sun's slow climb across the sky, by the crackling of firewood, or the smell of baking bread in the wind. It is the year 1607. You are not a noble, not a scholar, not a merchant. You are a villager, a quiet life, tucked away in the heart of the Swiss Alps, where the air is thin, the winters are long, and the days are ruled by labor, hunger, and silence. You live in a modest wooden house with a low ceiling and walls darkened by smoke. There is no chimney. The fire burns in the center of the floor, and its smoke curls up and seeps through a hole in the roof. The windows are not glass, but sheets of oiled parchment stretched tightly over wooden frames, barely letting in the pale winter light. The floor beneath your sleeping mat is cold, the air sharp as still. The room smells of damp wool, burned pine, and the earth itself. There is no sound but the soft breath of goats outside and the occasional creak of the beams above you. You are not truly awake, not fully, but the cold does not allow for dreaming. Today is not a day of rest. It is a day like all the others, a day to endure, to labor, and to survive. You rise slowly, every muscle stiff from the cold that seeped through the straw mat beneath you during the night. There is no comfort in waking, only the knowledge that you are still alive and that the day has begun whether you are ready or not. Your fingers ache as they emerge from the woolen blanket wrapped around your body, a blanket heavy and rough, offering only partial protection against the winter that presses in from all sides. The fire has long since faded to ash. You crouch low beside the hearth and search for the faintest ember. If none remain, you'll have to beg a neighbor for a live coal. Not a shameful act, but not one you wish to repeat. Today, you are fortunate. A single ember glows faintly in the dark, and you cradle it back to life with dried moss and careful breath until a small flame flickers upward. The heat is weak, but it is something. Your hands hover over it as you draw your knees to your chest, trying to preserve whatever warmth you can gather. The house around you is still and dim, its wooden beams heavy with age, its corners cluttered with sacks of grain, tools, and the few possessions your family has managed to keep. There is no luxury here. Every object has a purpose. Every crack in the wall is stuffed with straw or cloth to keep the wind out. Your clothes hang on a peg near the door, a tunic of woven wool, a second-hand coat, stiff linen underlayers, and a pair of patched trousers tied with twine. Your shoes are scraps of leather sewn into shape, more protection than comfort. Dressing is not a task, it is a ritual. You wrap yourself slowly, methodically, until the cold feels distant, though never gone. Your stomach growls faintly, but there is little to eat this morning. A crust of bread, a sliver of cheese if you're lucky. The rest must be saved. You drink from a wooden cup filled with water that was left by the fire overnight. Still cold, but not frozen. Hunger is part of life here. It sits with you like an old friend. You feel it, but you do not fight it. You accept it. You stand at last, your breath clouding in the air, and open the door. The snow waits outside, untouched, beautiful, and unforgiving. It is time to work. You wrap yourself in your thickest coat, a heavy and coarse thing made of stitched wool and goatskin, passed down through winters older than memory. The scent of smoke clings to it, mixed with sweat, ash, and the faint mustiness of damp storage. The morning is quiet, still wrapped in the pale hush of a snowy dawn. The sky above is heavy with low, grey clouds that smother the sun and cast a dull blue hue over the landscape. The snow is fresh, soft underfoot, erasing any memory of the previous day's tracks. The world looks clean, untouched, but it is a false softness. Beneath the white lies ice, danger, and the ache of effort. You walk slowly, each step heavy and deliberate, your breath forming thick clouds in the air, your fingers already numb despite the layers. There is no path, only the one you remember. 3 kilometers uphill through the forest, to gather enough wood to keep the fire burning through another freezing night. You walk because you must, not because you want to. This is not adventure, this is necessity. It's not elegant, but it's warm enough to face what lies ahead. The forest ahead is a dark smudge on the horizon, its branches hunched and bare under the weight of snow. You do not think about what lies between here and there. You do not think about what could go wrong. You think only of the heat the wood will bring, the flicker of the flame, the way it will light the corners of your home and chase away the bitter cold for a few brief hours. Your life is not measured in years or achievements, but in firewood, in warmth, in the small victories that let you survive one more night. And so, you walk. Around your legs, you tie strips of rough cloth and twine to guard against the creeping wetness of the snow. Your boots are little more than stiff leather wrapped around wooden soles, their cracks stuffed with straw for insulation. They are not warm, only dry, or dry enough to get you to the trees and back. You reach for your hatchet, dull but dependable, the worn wooden handle polished by years of use. It was your father's before you. Now it is yours. You carry it not as a tool of work or war, but as a lifeline, the thing that will bring fire into your home tonight. As you step outside, the cold greets you like an old rival, familiar and unkind. The village fades behind you with each slow step, its sounds muffled by the snow, its roofs barely visible through the mist. The forest greets you with a silence that is deeper than the village and more ancient than words. Its trees stand tall and still, their bare branches reaching upward like arms frozen mid-snow clings to every limb, muffling even the faintest sound, wrapping the world in a soft, cold hush. You pass beneath the first of the great pines, your boots crunching softly in the powder, each step sinking deeper than the last. The sky is barely visible through the canopy above, filtered through a lattice of limbs and smoke-colored clouds. Here, in the shelter of the woods, the wind calms, but the cold sharpens. It moves differently now, slower, more deliberate, seeping in through seams you thought were sealed. The path forward is only half remembered. There are no markers, no signs, only instinct and repetition. You followed the slope downward toward a small grove where fallen branches tend to collect, your eyes scanning the ground for shapes beneath the snow. Every so often, you pause, listening, not for wolves or men, but for the subtle music of the trees, the crack of distant limbs, the rustle of a bird shifting in its perch. The forest feels empty, but it watches. You've known this place since childhood. It has taken things from you. A cousin who slipped on the ice and broke his leg so far from help that he did not survive the night. A neighbor's boy who wandered too far and was found in the thaw, months later, curled beneath the tree as though still dreaming. You know its kindness is limited. You respect its silence. You move slowly, not from fear, but from caution. Your hatchet hangs at your side, its weight a small reassurance. Snow falls in tiny flurries from above as the wind shifts, disturbed only by your breath and the occasional groan of the trees. The wood here is hard to gather. The branches are frozen, the trunks too thick to cut. But if you be patient, if you know where to look, you will find what you need. Deadfall, twisted pine limbs, dry bark tucked beneath larger trees. You kneel beside a low, crooked trunk and begin clearing the snow with your gloved hands. Beneath it, wood, dry enough to burn, light enough to carry. It's not much, but it's a start. And in this place, in this season, that's all you can ask for. Your fingers dig through the snow again, slower this time. The cold has begun to reach through the layers wrapped around your hands. Even with thick wool gloves, it finds its way in, stinging first, then numbing. The forest, in all its stillness, offers no comfort, but the work keeps your blood moving. You scrape, pull and tug at the fallen limb beneath the trunk, its bark rough and split, damp from the melting frost, but not yet ruined. You measure it with your eyes, too thick to carry whole, too heavy to drag far. You kneel beside it, positioning the blade of your hatchet against the wood. With slow, steady movements, you begin to chop. Each strike echoes softly through the trees, a lonely sound in a place so quiet it feels sacred. The metal bites into the frozen branch with resistance, sending dull shocks up your arms. It is not elegant work. It is not fast, but it is necessary. Chips of wood scatter across the snow, pale and sharp, like broken shells. Your breath grows louder, heavier. It fogs the air in front of you, clinging to your scarf, wetting the wool where it touches your mouth. You pause, resting the hatchet on your knee, and glance around the forest floor for easier pieces. Nearby, a cluster of dry twigs jutes from beneath a fallen pine, small, brittle, perfect for kindling. You gather them quickly, tucking them under one arm as you return to the branch. This is how time passes in winter, not in hours or sunrises, but in tasks. You measure the day by what your hands have held, wood, snow, steel, and by the weight you carry when you leave the forest. Your basket is nearly half full now, enough for one night, maybe two, if you ration it, but it is never enough to rest, never enough to be sure. So you continue, dragging broken limbs from under roots, snapping brittle branches beneath your foot, brushing aside snow in search of what the forest has let go. You speak no words. There is no one to hear them, only the wind and the quiet presence of trees that have outlived generations, watching you from beneath their snow-covered crowns as you kneel, gather, and carry your life on your back. There is a certain rhythm to survival that only those who live close to the edge can hear. It is not fast or dramatic. It does not announce itself with heroism or glory. It is quiet, repetitive, in the scraping of bark from a branch, in the sound of your breath as you haul a bundle of wood onto your back, in the dull ache in your shoulders that returns day after day, as predictable as the frost. You do not count the days here. You count the meals, and more often, the absences between them. Hunger is no longer a sharp pain. It is a companion that walks with you, settles behind your ribs, and speaks in silence. It makes you move slower, think slower, but it also keeps you alert. It reminds you that comfort is a luxury you do not have the time or the means to seek. You sit for a moment on a low rock, your legs trembling slightly, your breath ragged but steady. The wood you've gathered is tied together with rope, slung across your back like a soldier's pack. It's not heavy, not really, but it becomes heavier with each passing minute. You adjust the strap that cuts into your shoulder and shift your weight, listening to the forest breathe around you. The snow continues to fall, slow and light, settling gently on your hat and shoulders, dusting your coat in white. It melts slowly, absorbed into the wall like everything else in your life, expected, endured, and without complaint. You wonder, briefly, how others live. Those far away, in cities you've only heard about through travelers. Places with stone roads, with clocks, with heat that flows from walls and food that waits in cupboards. But those are not thoughts you allow yourself to follow for long. They are dreams, and dreams are dangerous when you still have half a day's work ahead of you. So you look down at your hands, cracked, red, stiff with cold, and you stand again. You lift the bundle of wood onto your back, feel its weight settle into your spine, and turn toward the invisible path that will lead you back home. You do not speak, you do not sigh, you simply walk, because walking is what keeps you alive. The path home is never truly straight. There are no markings, no signposts or carved stones, only trees, snow, and your own memory of where the forest thins and the hills begin to slope downward. But even without landmarks, your feet know the way. They have walked it in all seasons, in the wet green of spring, in the crisp silence of autumn, and now in winter, when every tree looks the same and the world is reduced to white and brown and grey. Your breath is shallower now. The cold has settled into your clothes, and your body has begun to burn the energy it doesn't have. The wood across your back shifts with each step, creaking faintly with the rope's tension. But you do not stop. There is no time for rest now. Your eyes remain low, scanning the snow for changes, a break in the crust, a streak of shadow. And there, just ahead, pressed faintly into the fresh snow tracks. Not human, not boots, but paws. You slow, your breath catching slightly, not in fear, but awareness. They are fresh, for toes, a widespread, likely a fox, maybe a lynx. You kneel beside them, examining the pattern, the direction. Whatever it was, it passed through recently, quietly, as all things must hear. You look up, scanning the trees, but see only the soft fall of snow and the gentle sway of bare branches. There is no threat, just a reminder. You are not alone in this forest. You never are. You rise again and continue walking, your boots crunching softly over the prints as you move forward. The presence of animals is a comfort, in a way. If they are here, it means there is still life beneath the surface of the snow, still warmth somewhere deep in the forest. Once, as a child, you had seen a stag pass through the trees in winter, its antlers thick with frost, its breath rising, like steam. It had looked directly at you, before vanishing behind a hill, silent and ghost-like. That memory returns now, unbidden, and you carry it with you, like a candle flickering in your chest, as you descend the first slope on your way back, toward the village, your footprints merging with those of creatures you'll never meet. The wind shifts suddenly. It's not a violent change, not yet, but you feel it like a whisper curling through the trees, lifting snow from branches and sending it tumbling through the air in slow, spiraling motions. You stop walking and tilt your face toward the sky. The light has dimmed. The pale glow of afternoon, already weak in winter, begins to flatten even more, swallowed by a new layer of clouds that rolls in without warning. There is no thunder, no storm call, just a quiet thickening of the air, a sense that something is folding over the world, something colder, heavier, and less forgiving than before. You tighten your scarf and shift the bundle of wood higher, onto your back, adjusting the weight before moving on. The trees now creak softly above you, groaning beneath the growing burden of snow. The flakes that fall are different from before, larger, wetter, and more insistent. They cling to your coat, to your lashes, to your breath as you exhale. The path is harder to follow now, your own tracks already fading behind you, erased by the forest's quiet hands. It's not panic that sets in, not yet, but a subtle tension, a memory, perhaps, of stories told by firelight, stories of travelers who didn't return, of wanderers caught in storms with no horizon to guide them. You quicken your pace slightly, though your legs are tired and the slope is steep. The trees here grow closer together, their trunks dark and narrow, like watchful sentinels. The world feels smaller, the air tighter. You keep your eyes forward, focused, not on distance but on rhythm, the crunch of each step, the weight of your pack, the pattern of your breath. You whisper a few words under your breath, not a prayer, exactly, but something old, passed down from your mother. Words with no direct meaning, but heavy with the need to feel accompanied, even by silence. The snow thickens still. The light continues to fade, but you do not stop. You cannot afford to stop. The village lies ahead, somewhere beyond this ridge, hidden behind the curtain of falling snow. And if you keep moving, keep walking, keep breathing, you will find it again. You begin to feel it now, not just the cold, but the weight of the day pressing deeper into your bones. The bundle of wood across your back digs into your shoulders, its ropes cutting slightly through the fabric of your coat. Your legs ache, your knees burn with each step, and though your breaths still rise in steady clouds, they come harder now, tighter. There is a numbness settling in, not sharp, but creeping. The kind of cold that doesn't sting anymore, the kind that deceives, pretending to be peace when it is really surrender. You pause for a moment at the base of a low hill, placing one hand against the rough bark of a tree to steady yourself. The snow falls heavier now, blanketing the world in thick silence. It muffles even your own movements, as if the forest has decided to hush every sound, to still every breath. You close your eyes for just a second, and in that second, memory arrives not as thought, but as feeling. The forest smells the same as it did years ago. Sharp pine, damp earth beneath the snow, smoke on wool, old sweat, and faint ash. You remember being small, running through these same trees with your brother. Your feet were lighter then. The snow was a game, not a burden. You didn't carry anything. You were chasing birds, throwing sticks, shouting into the trees to hear your own voice echo back. He laughed louder than you did, always. He climbed higher, fell harder, but he never feared the forest. He used to say that it liked him. You blink the snow from your lashes and open your eyes again. The tree beside you is older now, heavier, its branches burdened with weight you can't see. Just like you whisper his name, not aloud, but in the quiet part of your chest, the part that remembers things long after the mouth forgets how to say them. You don't know why the memory came now. Maybe the cold brings it. Maybe the forest does. You push yourself forward again, gripping the rope of your bundle, shifting it higher on your shoulders. Your body wants to rest, to kneel, to stop thinking, stop moving, but you don't. You keep walking. Each footstep is deliberate, steady, slow. You are not young anymore, not light, but you know what it means to continue. You have learned that walking is not just movement. It is memory. It is resistance. It is the final shape of hope in a world that offers no comfort, only survival. And so, through snow and silence and ache, you continue. You reach a clearing, not wide, just a break in the trees where the wind has carved a shallow bowl into the snow. In the center stands an old pine, tall, gnarled, its bark split with age, its lower branches heavy with broken snow. You've seen this tree before, years ago, maybe even decades. It was smaller then, but it was here. You remember it, not because of how it looks, but because of what happened beneath it. You step forward and kneel in its shadow, laying the bundle of wood gently beside you. For a moment, you don't reach for your hatchet. You don't dig through the snow. Instead, you rest your hands on your knees and allow yourself, just for a minute, to remember. Your father brought you here once. You must have been no older than 8. It was the first time he let you carry a tool into the woods. Not a hatchet, just a small knife, carved from iron and bone, too dull to do harm. You walked behind him, struggling to keep pace, your legs sinking into the snow while he moved ahead like a shadow you could barely follow. He didn't speak much. He was not a cruel man, but he lived close to silence, the way mountain men often do. His voice came only when necessary to give a name to a tree, to tell you which branches would burn, which ones would only smoke. He stood beneath this very pine, reached up and snapped a dry limb with his bare hand. The sound startled you, not because it was loud, but because it came so suddenly in a forest that otherwise said nothing. He handed you the branch and said, "Hold this, it's your warmth now." You didn't understand what he meant at the time. You only knew it, felt like a gift, the first piece of the world he'd ever trusted you to carry. Now, years later, in the same place, beneath the same tree, with your own breath rising in front of you like a prayer you never learned the words to, you finally understand what he meant. Every piece of wood you carry is more than heat. It's more than survival. It's memory. It's a life continued by hand and by choice, passed through time like a flame that must not go out. You reach into the snow and begin to clear it away from the base of the tree. The work is slow. Your gloves are stiff, your fingers heavy, but the rhythm soothes you. Pull, brush, grip. You find a long branch, thick and dry, nestled beneath a cradle of roots, protected from the snow above. You smile slightly, quietly. The forest has given you one more offering. You take your time tying the last bundle, not from weakness, but from care. You fold each branch as if they matter, because they do. They are the night's promise. You hoist the weight onto your back and rise again, legs shaking slightly under the load, but your posture straighter than before. The light is fading. Soon the grey of day will fall into blue, and then into black. But you're not afraid. You've made it through worse. And tonight, your fire will burn from the gift beneath the same tree your father once touched. In this place where memory and survival walk side by side, you carry both. And so you begin the walk home. You linger beneath the old pine longer than prudence allows, letting the hush of the forest press against your ears until you can almost hear your own heartbeat drumming inside the layers of wool. The cold settles in pockets along your spine, but you do not move. Instead, you close your eyes, letting the faint ache of memory carry you backward beyond the aches in your shoulders, beyond the sting in your fingers, back to a winter when you were small enough to fit between your father's knees as he sat by the hearth. You remember the fire, not the bright, roaring blaze of storybooks, but a low, patient flame-orange coals, breathing quietly under a crust of ash. The room smelled of tallow and wood smoke, and something sweet honey, maybe kept for rare occasions. Your mother moved in the half-light, her shadow on the wall larger than life, sewing a patch onto your brother's tunic. She hummed under her breath, a tune with no words, passed down like seeds in a pocket, carried across winters too numerous to name. Your brother leaned over the fire, poking at a pot of simmering roots, the steam curling up to fog his ruddy cheeks. He looked back at you, grinning, the kind of grin that says, "We are hungry now, but soon we will feast." You did not speak. Children learn early that warmth is a fragile guest, and loud voices may chase it away. Your father's hands wrapped around yours, guiding them toward the flame until you felt the radiant glow brush your fingertips, thrilling, a miracle made visible. "Remember this heat," he whispered, his voice so quiet you felt it more than heard it. "One day the fire will depend on you." You did not fully grasp the weight of that promise, yet something in the solemnity of his tone etched itself into the soft clay of your child's heart. You have carried it ever since. Years later, when he coughed through a final winter and the fire's glow flickered in his hollow eyes, you remembered when your brother left to serve a distant baron and never returned. Rumor said fever. Rumor said warrior remembered. When your mother wrapped herself in blankets to wait out the cold and simply did not wake one dawn, you remembered the fire and the charge to keep it alive. Snow sighs off a branch above you and lands in your hair, snapping the thread of recollection. Still kneeling, you open your eyes to the dimming world, half expecting to see the silhouettes of your family around you. Instead, the forest greets you with its ancient indifference, towering trunks, drifting flakes, grey light fading toward dusk, yet the warmth of the memory remains, a small ember nestled somewhere beneath your ribs. You stand slowly, feeling the protest of cold, stiff joints, and straighten the bundle of wood across your back. The rope bites deeper, but it is a loyal pain, a reminder that you carry not only timber, but the legacy of hands that once guided yours. The wind shifts again, sharper now, as though the mountains themselves exhale. Far off, a rook caws once, and then is silent, the sound swallowed by snow. You turn toward home. The path is vague, a suggestion more than a road, but you follow it instinctively, each step echoing the footsteps of those who walked it before you. Father, mother, brother, ghosts whose stories burn on in the flame you will coax from these branches tonight. And as you begin the descent, night gathering around the treetops, you murmur the unfinished tune your mother used to hum, letting the half-forgotten melody drift into the dark like sparks lifted by a rising wind. The return is quieter than the journey out, not because the forest has changed, but because you have. The cold is deeper now, pressing into your joints with greater confidence. Your breath is slower, your footsteps heavier, but your thoughts are not burdened. They are still, the kind of stillness that only silence can teach. You've learned over the years that silence is not emptiness, it's not absence, it is presence without need, attention without noise, and that lesson was passed to you not in words, but in the pauses between them. Your father was not a talkative man. He never explained the why behind his actions. He never praised when he got things right, nor scolded when he fumbled. He watched, and you learned to watch him. The way he tied knots without looking, the way he packed wood so it would not shift, the way he paused before lighting the fire, his eyes lingering on the branches like he was asking them for permission. When he did speak, it was brief, not cruel, not cold, simply precise. He spoke the way others sharpen blades, only when needed, only to cut cleanly. As you walk now, with the weight of wood on your back and snow melting into the creases of your collar, you realize how much of your life has been shaped by his silences. You don't speak when you work. You don't complain when things ache. You don't shout into the forest. The birds don't care, and the trees are too old to answer. You listen. That is the inheritance. You listen to the wind, to the creak of bark, to the sound your own feet make against the snow. You listen to the spaces between thoughts, the spaces where memory waits. The trail curves downward, your legs adjusting to the descent instinctively, without thinking. Somewhere in the distance, past the ridge, your village waits, a scattering of roofs huddled against the mountainside, wrapped in smoke and shadow. You do not rush. The path is familiar, and the forest respects those who walk with care. You pause at a bend where the trees thin and the snow opens to a view of the far hills. The silence here is perfect, not empty, but full of memory, of ghosts that never needed to speak to be heard. You stand for a while, letting that silence settle over you like snow, and in it you feel your father again, not in voice, but in presence, in the stillness that he passed to you, like a fire he didn't want to explain, a warmth not made from words, but from watching, from understanding without needing to ask. And then, with breath fogging once more, you continue down the path, quiet, steady, listening, carrying more than just firewood. The trees begin to thin, slowly at first, as though reluctant to let you go. Their trunks pull farther apart, their branches giving way to open sky. And then, without fanfare or sudden change, the forest ends. What lies ahead is not a clearing, not exactly, it is home. The edge of the village emerges like a memory made solid. Wooden roofs sag under the weight of snow. Fences lean in the direction of the wind, their posts worn smooth by decades of cold. And above them all, a thin veil of smoke hangs in the air, stretching from chimneys like threads, stitching the sky to the earth. You pause at the edge of the trees, not from hesitation, but reverence. The forest was hard, yes, but it was honest. Out here, every sound had meaning. Every step, every breath mattered. The village, though warmer, carries different burdens, quieter ones, responsibilities shaped like people, expectations that hang in the air like fog. But still, there is comfort in its sight. One of the huts, yours, sits toward the far side, closest to the slope, where the wind cuts sharpest, but the morning sun arrives first. A narrow trail, barely visible beneath the snowfall, winds toward its door. You step onto it without thinking, your boots sinking into the powder, your legs remembering the rhythm even as they ache. The houses are quiet now, curtains drawn, doors shut. The world has retreated indoors, pulled close around its own fires, but you can feel the presence of others' lives unfolding just out of view. A pot being stirred, a blanket mended, a child being hushed to sleep. Behind one window, a flicker of movement, a silhouette lit by firelight, moving slowly, as if part of a dream. The scent of burning pine touches the air, rich and sharp and familiar. As you pass the well, you rest your hand on its stone rim, feeling the cold bite of it through your glove. You've done this 100 times, maybe more. The gesture is not practical, it is habit. A moment of stillness in a place that remembers you. Even when you forget yourself, you reach your door and stand before it without entering. The weight on your back is heavier now, not from the wood, but from the shift, the return. Inside is warmth, light, responsibility. Inside is life, quiet and waiting. You let your breath fall out slowly, a soft cloud rising into the dusk, and then reach for the handle. The door creaks, the way it always has, and the warmth from within touches your face like a breath from a gentler world. You step inside, and the cold finally lets you go. Inside, the door shuts behind you with a soft thud, sealing out the wind like a wall of thick wool. The world narrows to one room, dark and quiet, but not empty. The air smells of dry wood, ash, and smoke that clings to the beams above. It's not a large space, just enough to hold a fire, a cot, a table, and the things that matter. The ceiling is low. You duck slightly out of habit, though you know every rafter by heart. Your boots press soft ridges into the dirt floor, shedding snow. In slow, heavy drips, you move without speaking. There is no one to speak to, and if there were, they would not expect words just yet. You are still part forest, still made of wind and trees and snow. You kneel slowly beside the hearth. The hearthstone is cracked but solid, darkened by years of use. Ash lies beneath the iron grate like sleeping dust, and beside it, an old iron kettle, empty now, but waiting. You place the bundle of wood down beside you, the rope slipping free with the gentle hiss of friction. One branch rolls away and taps, softly against the stone, not loud, not jarring, just a small sound that belongs here. You remove your gloves first, carefully, finger by finger, revealing hands reddened and rough, your knuckles cracked by cold and work. You hold them out toward the hearth, not expecting heat, only preparing for the act of returning warmth. The fire must be coaxed. It is not a flick of a switch or a match. It is a ritual, a conversation. From beneath the table, you retrieve the kindling basket, bits of dried moss, curled bark, slivers of pine shaved thin like paper. You arrange them patiently, building a small nest at the heart of the empty grate. Then you take the smallest branches, snapped earlier in the forest, and place them on top in a crisscross pattern. Nothing here is rushed. There is no need. The house is still cold. Yes, your breath still clouds before you, but the pressure of the day has lifted. You are home. In the corner of the hearth lies a small ceramic jar. Inside, a single ember buried under ash, still clinging to life. A trick passed down through generations, how to keep the last breath of yesterday's fire alive through the long cold night. You uncover it gently with a stick, and yes, it is there. A tiny orange glow, barely visible, but enough. To begin again, you transfer the ember into the waiting kindling with steady hands. The moss accepts it. At first, nothing, then a thin thread of smoke, then another. You lean close and blow softly, not a gust, but a breath like singing. The ember responds. A tiny red eye opens, flickers, expands. It touches the bark, which hisses slightly. A flicker, a whisper, and then, flame dot. It's small at first, flickering like doubt, but you protect it with your hands, guarding it from drafts. You feed it slowly, one twig, then another. A ritual of patience, a conversation of warmth. The room begins to change around you, so subtly at first you almost don't notice. Shadows grow long. The walls, moments ago grey with frost, begin to glow with amber softness. The cold retreats, not quickly, but respectfully, like something wild that knows when it has lost. You add thicker branches now, building a cradle around the flame, not to smother it, but to guide it upward. The fire crackles gently, not a roar, never a roar, but a steady pulse, like a heart newly awakened. It lights your hands, your face, the tools beside the hearth, and casts dancing shapes across the wooden walls. The sound of it is not loud, but it fills the space more completely than silence ever did. You sit back, your knees drawn up, and rest your arms across them. For a long moment, you simply watch, not because there is more to do, though there always is, but because this moment deserves to be witnessed. The fire is not just heat, it is memory. You see your father's hands in your own. You hear your mother's breath in the kettle you now place beside the flame. You remember your brother laughing beside this very hearth before his voice was replaced by stories. The fire carries them all. It is the only inheritance you never questioned, the only task you perform with something close to reverence. You remove your coat and hang it near the hearth to dry. Steam rises from its seams. Your boots come off next, stiff, soaked, heavy, and then your scarf. Beneath it all, you feel the ache of muscles worked to their edge and beyond. But the pain does not trouble you. It is honest pain. It has earned this warmth. The fire crackles again, this time louder. A pop, a brief flare. Light spills across the floor and touches the low rafters like a prayer rising upward. You add one final log, then pull a heavy blanket across your shoulders and lean against the wall, still facing the flame. Outside, the sky darkens. Snow continues to fall, unseen, unheard. But inside, there is nothing left to fear. The work is done. The fire is alive. And for tonight, that is enough. The fire is steady now, its light pulsing gently across the small room like the heartbeat of the home itself. You sit with your blanket still wrapped around your shoulders, staring into the embers until the shapes begin to soften, until the day begins to lose its edges. But you are not finished yet. The work of survival is not only heat, it is nourishment, however humble. And so, after a long pause, you shift and rise, moving slowly, deliberately, as one does in a place where nothing is wasted, not even motion. Near the hearth stands a narrow wooden shelf, bowed slightly in the center from age. On it rest a handful of clay bowls, a wooden spoon worn smooth, a bundle of dried herbs tied with twine. You take the small kettle and lift it toward the fire, nestling it among the stones where the flame can reach it without boiling it too fast. You fill it from the barrel near the door, where water is kept in the shadows to stop it from freezing. It is cold and clear, pulled from a stream long before snow covered the hills. Into the pot you add a handful of dried root vegetables, not fresh, but stored carefully in sacks over the weeks. Slices of turnip, bits of carrot, thin coins of parsnip still holding the scent of the earth. You add a pinch of salt, a precious thing, but not yet gone, and a leaf of bay from a jar your mother once kept, the handwriting still faintly visible on its lid. You stir the pot slowly with the wooden spoon, hearing the soft swirl of water, the faint scratch of dry vegetables against the sides. There is no meat tonight. That is not strange. Most nights are like this, the kind that demand contentment, not abundance. But you are used to contentment. You have made peace with enough. You pull a small round of bread from a cloth near the window, dense, dark, and hard from the cold. You set it beside the fire to soften just slightly, resting it on a flat stone warmed by the coals. The smell is faint, but comforting, grain and smoke, survival and effort. You crouch again by the kettle and lift the lid. Steam rises, wrapping around your face and making the air between your hands and the pot feel like summer for just a moment. You breathe it in, not with hunger, but with gratitude, the kind that comes from knowing that this meal, though simple, is safe. You do not feast, you do not gorge, you nourish. When the water has darkened and the roots have softened into something like soup, you ladle it into a clay bowl. It fills slowly, each splash echoing in the quiet room like a drumbeat. In the snow, you slice the bread, the knife pressing hard to break the crust, then gliding soft through the center. You dip a piece into the broth, watching it absorb the warmth, watching the crust soften just enough to welcome your teeth. You sit by the fire with the bowl in your lap, your legs curled beneath you. You do not rush. You eat slowly, spoonful by spoonful, listening to the crackle of the flame, to the low whistle of steam against the kettle's lip. The room grows warmer. The air fills with small comforts, not celebration, not indulgence, but peace. This is not a meal to remember. In stories, no one will sing songs of root soup and cold bread, but it is the kind of meal that teaches you how to live, to be still, to be grateful, to survive with grace. You finish it quietly, wiping the edge of the bowl with the last piece of bread, then placing the dish carefully back on the shelf. The fire glows low now, slower, more rhythmic. The heat of the meal settles in your chest like memory. You sit again by the hearth, the blanket back over your shoulders, and let the quiet settle into your bones. Outside, the snow continues. You hear it now and then, the soft hiss as it slides off the roof, the muted thump of it falling from the branches. But inside, all is warmth and breath and stillness, and for now, that is all you need. There is no clock in the room. There never was. There are no ticking hands, no bells, no numbers counting away the minutes. And yet, time is everywhere, written into the slow movements of the flame, the creak of wood as it shifts with heat, the rhythm of your own breath rising and falling in the quiet. You sit with your back against the wall, legs stretched toward the hearth, and stare at the glowing coals. They have shifted color, from gold to red to deep orange, the color of memory itself. The bowl has been emptied. The kettle has quieted. The fire no longer crackles but murmurs, a low, pulsing sound like the heartbeat of the past. Time does not move here the way it does in other places. There are no minutes, only moments. You think, sometimes, about the people who live in cities, who live by bells and numbers, who wake not when their bodies are ready, but when a machine insists. It is so. You imagine rooms full of clocks, wrists wrapped in leather bands counting seconds, eyes fixed on glowing rectangles that blink and buzz and remind. And then you look around your little cottage, where the only timekeeper is the way shadows stretch across a wall, or the weight of your limbs when the sun has fallen. In this place, time has a different shape. It is not straight, it is not sharp, it does not tick forward. It curves, it breathes, it folds in on itself. You remember being young, younger than you are now, sitting outside in the late summer sun, watching the shadows of tree branches dance across the dirt. You had no idea how old you were. You didn't count years. You measured time by how long it took a puddle to dry, how long it took for your father to come home from the ridge, how many sunsets passed before the apples turned red again. Even now, you know the season not because of a date, but because of the smell in the air, the weight of your coat, the sting in your knuckles. Winter announces itself with cold in the bones before it ever whispers through the trees. Spring, too, has its own way, a certain lightness in the wind, the first drip of melting snow from the eaves, the sound of water returning to the land. The modern world forgets these things. You have not. You tilt your head back against the wood and look toward the low window. Snow clings to the corners, frosting the glass like breath on a mirror. Beyond it, the night is heavy. No moon tonight, just the soft glow of falling snow, weightless, endless, quiet. You cannot see it land, only drift. How long have you been sitting here? You do not know, but your body tells you. Long enough for the warmth to sink in, long enough for the stiffness in your knees to fade, long enough for your heart to slow its rhythm and remember that it is safe now. You reach for the candle on the windowsill and hold it in your hands. The wax has melted down the side like slow tears, forming rivers along its edge. The flame dances in the shallow pool at its base, casting gold across your fingers. You tilt it slightly, then right it again, and watch the shadow shift on the wall. Time, made visible. The firelight flickers once a log shifting, collapsing into coal. You glance toward it, but do not rise. You will feed it once more before sleep, but not yet. Let it dim a little more. Let the room darken slowly, like dusk bleeding into night. You think of your mother. She used to say, "The day ends when the flame no longer needs us." It was not a proverb. It was simply true. When the fire stopped demanding, when the work was done, when no more wood needed chopping and no more water needed boiling, that is when the day would end. Until then, you remained awake, present, listening to the shape of the hours. You think of your father's hands again, the way they moved without hurry, always slow, always deliberate. Not because he was lazy, he was never lazy, but because he refused to be ruled by the illusion of haste. You remember how he would pause while stirring a pot, not to taste it, but to look out the window. How he would wait before speaking, as though measuring not just what to say, but when to say it. You inherited that pause, that timing, that shape of time. That fire dims further. The room grows deeper in its shadows. You pull the blanket tighter around your shoulders and lie down slowly on the padded mat near the hearth. Your knees bend, your feet settle against the cloth. The candle flickers beside you, and for a long while you simply lie there listening, not to noise, but to the absence of it. You listen to the ticking silence, to the soft crack of wood in the hearth, to the weight of your breath, to the memory of years. You think again, not with sadness, but with stillness, of how little time you truly need. Not days, not years, just enough. Enough to feel the fire warm your skin, enough to eat slowly. Do you close your eyes when you're ready to remember someone's voice without needing to hear it? Time is not the enemy here. It is not a thing to race or chase or beat. It is a river, and you are in it, floating without effort, without fear. Outside, the snow still falls, but inside, time has curled itself into something soft, into rest, into peace, into night. The fire has faded now, no longer a presence but a glow, a memory held in orange coals and thin smoke that curls upward in lazy spirals, too tired to rise with urgency. The room is bathed in dusk, not the dusk of evening, but of thought, of feeling, the kind that comes when all things have been said, when all tasks are behind you, and only stillness remains. You lie curled near the hearth, wrapped in thick wool, one arm beneath your head, the other resting across your chest. The blanket carries the scent of smoke and sweat and pine, familiar scents, the kind that live not in fabric, but in time. The room no longer needs to be lit. Its corners have disappeared into shadow. The only light now is from the candle on the window's edge, a small golden flame swaying gently, as if rocked by the same rhythm that cradles your breath. The sounds are few, a faint crackle from the last ember, the wind moving across the roof, the occasional whisper of snow brushing against the shutters, like fingers across skin. These are not noises, they are lullabies. Your eyes close slowly, not because you command them to, but because there is nothing left to see. Nothing outside needs your attention. The world, for now, no longer asks anything of you. And yet, within the darkness behind your eyelids, something stirs. Not noise, not thought, dream, dot. It begins not with images, but with warmth, the kind that memory brings. A flicker of a fire, long gone, a voice that no longer speaks. You do not dream like a child anymore. There are no monsters, no heroes. Your dreams come in shapes and seasons, in old houses and distant hills, in the feeling of walking a familiar road whose end you cannot see. You are not fully asleep, not yet, but you are drifting, carried by something gentle and old, like a river long forgotten by maps. The weight of your body becomes distant, your feet no longer feel the ground. Time slows, even more than it already has. The breath between thoughts stretches, and somewhere in that stillness, a door opens. You see a hallway, one you haven't walked in years. Wooden beams above, rough stone beneath. There is no sound but the hush of your own steps. You know this place. It is not real, and yet it is more real than the fire you left behind. It is built from the shape of your memory, not exact, not literal, but felt. There is a coat on a hook, a worn stool in the corner, a soft draft that lifts the hair near your neck. You move without intention. The dream moves for you. You pass through another door. This one opens into light, not daylight, but a glow like sunrise filtered through heavy fog. There is a table. Your mother sits at it, sewing something you cannot see. Her fingers move slowly. Her face is not sharp, blurred by time or mercy, but her presence is clear. She does not look up. She does not need to. She knows you are there. And just as suddenly, she is gone. The table fades. The room dissolves. You are walking again, but you are not walking. You are floating, sliding through scenes without direction. You hear your father's voice, not words, just tone, deep, steady, safe. He is showing you something, a path, perhaps, or the way to light a fire. Your brother laughs in the distance. His laugh echoes off the trees, bouncing like a child's, stone across the surface of your mind. You feel younger than you are, then older, then something beyond age. The dream shifts again. You are lying in a field. Summer bees hum lazily around you. The grass is tall, swaying. The sun touches your face like a hand, and you smile, not with your mouth, but with your bones. You do not move. You are still, fully at rest, and in the real world, in the small cottage nestled against the side of a mountain. Your breath grows slower, your limbs heavier, your heart softer. You are not thinking of tomorrow. You are not remembering today. You are simply existing. The candle on the window has shrunk to a stub. The flame flickers once more, a last breath, and then fades. Darkness settles incompletely, wrapping the room like wool. Outside, the wind continues to move. The snow continues to fall. But they are not calling to you. They are singing. And now, at last, sleep finds you. Not suddenly, not loudly, but like an old friend who slips into the room, sits beside you, and waits for your breath to match its own. You drift deeper. The fire dreams with you, and the night, quiet and whole, watches. Overall, it is past midnight, though you do not know the hour. The room no longer breathes with firelight. The coals have dimmed to a dull pulse beneath their own ash. No candle remains to measure the dark, but even now, you are not fully gone. Sleep has taken you, but only part way. You drift not in darkness, but in something deeper, a space between layers, between now and then, between the life you live and the ones you carry within you. This is the hour of memory, the hour when nothing is loud, but everything echoes, when even your thoughts walk barefoot, so as not to wake the past. You do not dream in stories now. You dream in pieces, a cup placed on a table, the sound of ceramic against wood, a snow boot abandoned in a hallway, a voice you almost remember, its tone, its warmth, but not its name, a letter never opened, fluttering in an unseen wind, a smell, apples drying near the fire, smoke clinging to wool. These are not images, they are impressions. They are what remains when time forgets to write the full page. You drift through a room that should not exist, vast and high-ceilinged, lit only by candlelight that burns without source. The walls are lined with drawers, shelves, trunks. Some are labeled in your handwriting, though you don't recall writing them. Some are locked, others open on their own, revealing fragments you didn't know you still carried. You pass a mirror, not one from your cottage, but older. The surface is warped, silver faded, but when you look inside it, you do not see yourself. Not exactly. You see who you were when you first learned how to carry silence. A child, perhaps, or a younger self, who knew how to listen to wind, to snow, to absence. Their eyes look back at you, not in fear, but in recognition. You nod to them, and the dream moves on. On the center of this dream place sits a table. Upon it, a set of items too ordinary to be strange, too precise to be coincidence. A scarf you lost 5 winters ago, a spoon from your grandmother's house, a broken watch that never worked, but which you kept because its silence reminded you of something unspoken. These things have weight, not in your hands, but in your chest. You pick them up, one by one, and though your fingers do not feel them, your heart does. This is the place your memories go when they are no longer needed in the waking world. They are not thrown away. They are stored, catalogued, not to be used, but to be remembered by the soul when the body no longer knows how. And still, the dream moves. You walk now along a corridor, narrower, dimmer. The walls are made not of stone or wood, but of mist. Shapes appear and vanish within them. a dog from your childhood, the first snow of your 9th year, the sound of a distant bell ringing through morning fog. None of them last, but none of them need to. This is not about holding on. This is about visiting, about remembering not just what happened, but how it felt. You feel a breeze though no windows exist here. It smells of something sharp and clean. You follow it. Ahead is a door, familiar. The wood is carved, worn by time. A small iron handle, cool beneath your dream fingers. You hesitate, not because you fear what's inside, but because part of you already knows. Behind that door is the memory you always return to when the world has gone still. You open it. Inside is not a room, but a hillside, green with the breath of spring. The sky is full of gold, not sun, but something softer, as if light itself. Remembered how to be gentle. A blanket is spread over the grass. You sit on it. You do not know how you arrived, only that you belong here. Beside you, someone hums, a low, familiar tune. No words, just a lullaby older than language. You do not turn to see who it is. You do not need to. This is not a person, it is love, the shape it once wore, the warmth it left behind. You sit beside it until the light fades again, and then, slowly, the dream dissolves. The door fades, the mist retreats, the table vanishes, the mirror darkens. You drift again through shadow, through memory's last hallway, until there is nothing left but breath and the soft pulse of your heart. You are not awake. You are not dreaming. You are somewhere in between, where only the soul can travel. And when morning comes, you will not remember all of it. Not the names, not the rooms, but something will remain. A stillness in the bones, a quiet in the chest, the feeling of having walked through midnight and returned whole. The room is nearly gone now. The shadows have folded inward. The walls disappeared into stillness. What little light remains hums quietly in the embers, too tired to flicker, too gentle to cast a glow. The air is warm, but not from fire, from rest, from breath, from the absence of needing anything more. You lie still. The blanket is no longer a thing you wear, but a part of you, like skin, like silence. It holds you, gently but firmly, as if to say, it's over, you've done enough, you're safe. Now. There is no more story to tell, no beginning to return to, no end to reach. Only this breath, and the next, and the next. Each one slower, softer, more invisible than the last. Let it all fall away now. Let the path you walked vanish behind you. Let the memories dissolve. Let the names fade. Let even the cottage, the fire, the snow, drift quietly out of reach. You do not need them anymore. You have carried the day as far as it could go. You have fed the fire. You have gathered the wood. You have listened to the stillness. You have walked the dream. And now there is nothing left but sleep. You are not falling. You are not floating. You are simply being held by the night, by warmth, by silence, by peace that does not ask for anything in return. No thoughts, no questions, no future, no past, only breath, only now, only rest. Let your body disappear. Let your name slip away. Let every sound fade into hush. Let the world grow quiet around you and inside you. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not lost. You are exactly where you should be. There is no more light, no more fire, just the rhythm of your heart slowing down, just the snow falling outside, and the dark listening. And now, even the rhythm fades. No need to hold on, just drift deeper and deeper still, beyond thought, beyond story, beyond even the dream. You are safe, you are still, you are home, and now, at last, you may sleep.